Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to what is the highest point in each US state of the USA, and yeah, it's a cool little reaction to, well, an interesting little reaction to something like this. I mean, I don't know, I feel like most states have quite a high point, but I actually think there's some that are very flat, so there'll be a big contrast in the states, but the highest will obviously be in Alaska because it has the biggest mountain. But yeah, we're going to see this video, hopefully going to enjoy, and let's jump into it. Links are also in the description to my Patreon, where you can see movie reactions that I've posted on there. Recently reacted to Back to the Future, Black Hawk Down reactions, all what was the Christmas reaction that I done? Christmas film, Die Hard. Is it Die Hard? I think it's Die Hard, the film that's like, it's a Christmas film, but it's not really Christmassy, if that makes sense. Like, it is a Christmas film. I think the one where they get locked in the building that they work in. Anyway, yeah, links are in the description if you want to see movie reactions or you want to suggest some. But yeah, let's jump into this and see the highest points.
The United States is a country of vast diversity, with just about every landscape and climate represented in its 50 states. Some states, like Kansas, have a reputation for being flatter than a pancake, which is true by the way, but so is every other state by the same comparison. Some places, like Colorado, are famous for being mountainous wonderlands. It's become a noteworthy travel bucket list for ambitious sightseers to visit the highest point in every state. So, what are these places, and where are they found? Let's go through each state's highest point, in order from lowest to highest elevation.
I want to compare it to the UK quickly. England, highest point. Scaffold Pike is England's highest mountain, 978 meters. Do you know how crazy that is? I mean, that's obviously, I guess, a relatively decently sized mountain, but it's just, it doesn't compare, does it? Not at all. Scotland is a different thing, right? Scotland's got quite a lot of mountains. 1,345. It's not that much higher, but Scotland in general is just a mountainous country. But yeah, so what was it again? 978 meters. Let's see how it compares to all the US states.
Florida holds the title of the lowest high point of
345. Oh, damn. Oh, no, 105. Oh, Florida is very flat.
State, found at Britton Hill. At only 345 feet above sea level, it is just a small hill off the side of a small road. Delaware's highest point, the Ebright Azimuth, is just 448 feet above sea level. It's also just a few feet away from the state line with Pennsylvania, in a grassy field among the Wilmington suburbs.
I like how he's starting from lowest to highest, so I can see where England would be.
There's really nothing of interest here. At least Florida's high point makes a big deal of itself. This is just a vacant lot. Over in Louisiana, another low-lying coastal state, the highest point can be found in the northern part of the state, Driscoll Mountain. At 535 feet, it's really just a hill set among some other rather hard-to-notice hills in the forest. Neighboring Mississippi has a similar high point, Woodall Mountain, with an elevation of 807 feet. Again, it's just one hill of many found in the very far northeast corner of the state, near the Tennessee River. Returning to the Atlantic coast, Rhode Island has Jeremoth Hill, an 811-foot hill about a mile from the border with Connecticut.
They're all on borders at this point. They're just all right on the edges of their own states.
Not much to see here once again, as it's barely noticeable in the surroundings.
He's got a little sign though.
The first inland state to make the list is my home state, Illinois. Despite being notoriously flat,
again, right on the border,
Illinois does have some hills in the northwest and southeast. Charles Mound, the highest of these, is the first high point on the list with over 1,000 feet in elevation. At 1,235 feet, Charles Mound is on private farmland bordering Wisconsin in the far northwest part of the state. Next door neighbor Indiana has a very similar high point, Hoosier Hill, just a couple miles from the Ohio border. It too is on private property, and it also has a very similar elevation to Charles Mound at 1,257 feet. We head one state over again to Ohio and its highest point, Campbell Hill. This one is found in the town of Bellefontaine with an elevation of 1,549 feet and is home to the aptly named Ohio High Point Career Center.
It's in the town. That's pretty cool. I like it how it's actually next to a city or in a city or in a town, whatever you want.
Which is a technical
Either or.
school for adults. Continuing this string of Midwestern states is Iowa, which is home to Hawkeye Point. At 1,670 feet, it's a couple miles from the Minnesota border in the northwest of the state, and it features a very cool mosaic and signs pointing to the other 49 state high points. Missouri brings us the first high point that is actually a mountain of sorts, Tom Sauk Mountain. At 1,772 feet, it's not that tall, but it is found in the St. Francis Mountains of the Mark Twain National Forest. We return once again to the coast with New Jersey's high point, named High Point. Great job, New Jersey, always bringing that innovation to the table. At 1,803 feet, High Point is found within High Point State Park in the far northwestern corner of the state. It's the most grandiose of the high points we've seen so far, as it features a 220-foot tall obelisk on its top. It's back to the Midwest with my friendly neighbors to the north, Wisconsin. Their high point, Timms Hill, is at 1,951 feet in elevation and is found in the hilly wilderness of northern Wisconsin. It has an observation tower at the top. Heading even further north to the
I'm quite surprised. England would still it's still have 300 meters to go or 350 meters to go. But it's 950 meters, right? 178 meters. Okay, yeah. Damn, I'm pretty surprised. And Scotland was 1,300.
UP, Michigan's highest point is not too dissimilar to Wisconsin's. Mount Arvin is at an elevation of 1,979 feet and is part of the Huron Mountains. Across Lake Superior in the far northeastern tip of Minnesota is Eagle Mountain with an elevation of 2,301 feet. It's set among the rugged and beautiful hills of the Superior National Forest. Connecticut's high point is a rather interesting one, as it's located on the southern side of a mountain that reaches its true peak in Massachusetts of 2,454 feet. In Connecticut, the high point is at 2,379 feet and is located about 1,000 feet away from the tri-points of Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York.
They love borders.
In Alabama,
maybe it goes to show that maybe the high points are sort of related to the borders. Probably not, because they're not where the borders are, they're just near them somehow.
Cheehaw Mountain at 2,413 feet is the highest point in the state. It's part of the Talladega mountain range and appears to be much higher than it is due to its prominence. Arkansas, perhaps the first state of the video so far that's well known for having mountains, has its highest point at the 2,753-foot peak of Mount Magazine. Although it's very close to the Ouachita Mountains, it's technically a formation of the Arkansas River Valley instead, and is part of the Ozark National Forest. Similarly to Arkansas's...
Oh, so now this is pretty much the same as the UK, Pennsylvania. And we're not even halfway through yet.
Mountainous fame. Pennsylvania is famous for the Appalachian Mountains, which are home to its high points of Mount Davis, located near the border with Maryland. Mount Davis comes in at 3,213 feet. Speaking of Maryland, its high point of Hoy Crest is next in line. At an elevation of 3,360 feet, it's found just barely across the border with West Virginia and is part of the Backbone Mountain Ridge. I mentioned Massachusetts a while back, and it makes its appearance now with Mount Greylock. Its elevation of 3,489 feet and location in the northwest corner of the state provides beautiful
Look at that view.
views of 5 states and is also home to the only taiga forest in the state. There's also a paved road to the top and a war memorial tower at the summit.
This is my favorite one so far.
North Dakota brings us the first high point of the American West, with White Butte. At 3,506 feet, it's set among the Badlands of western North.
That's pretty as well, to be fair. Now, I guess they're now going to be getting more and more just pretty to look at, because, I mean, the bigger the mountains, the scenery just always will seem to be nicer, you know.
North Dakota, and is on private property. South Carolina takes us back to the Appalachians. Its highest point, Sassafras Mountain, is split in two by the border with North Carolina in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and is at an elevation of 3,560 feet. To reach the observation tower, which is on the South Carolina side, visitors have to pass through North Carolina first if they stay on the path.
Damn.
In Kansas, we find Mount Sunflower, one of the more famous high points of the 50 states. It's not an actual mountain or hill or really anything, but just the end of the long gradient of elevation that is the state of Kansas, about half a mile from the Colorado border. Kentucky has an actual mountainous high point, of course, being Black Mountain. It's just over the border from Virginia in the eastern part of the state, and is easily accessible by road. It comes in at 4,145 feet. Vermont, the Green Mountain State.
So this is around Scotland's biggest mountain, and then yeah, from onwards it's just getting bigger and bigger.
It has Mount Mansfield to claim as its high point, at an elevation of 4,395 feet. While the summit is a destination for high pointers, the mountain is also a ski resort and features some of Vermont's last remaining alpine tundra from the Ice Ages. Moving back south to Georgia, we find Brasstown Bald, a 4,784-foot high mountain peak found in the Chattahoochee National Forest of northern Georgia.
What is this? Is it like for landing? Or am I being an idiot? The view's pretty crazy as well, but is this like a landing spot for like planes or something?
There's apparently a shuttle service that runs to the top very frequently.
Oh,
how
damn.
convenient. Ah, West Virginia, an almost heavenly state famous for its Blue Ridge Mountains and Shenandoah River. Its country roads will take you to the place you belong, Spruce Knob, its highest
Damn, it's in the clouds.
point at 4,863 feet, found just outside the eastern panhandle. In Oklahoma, the highest point is found on
Right on the border, literally.
Black Mesa, a mesa which just barely stretches into the panhandle coming out of New Mexico. At 4,975 feet, the area is a quite different landscape from what most people think of when they hear Oklahoma. It is a beautiful spot though. Up in Maine, there's Mount Katahdin at an elevation of 5,270 feet. This mountain is found quite centrally
Oh, this one looks cool.
in the state of Maine, and is also noteworthy as the northern end of the Appalachian Trail. Close by, New York has Mount Marcy, found in the northern part of the state among the Adirondack High Peaks region. With an elevation of 5,343 feet, and not being too far away from Lake Placid, it's a very popular destination in the area and offers great views. Back in the plains, Nebraska's high point is Panorama Point at 5,427 feet. Quite similarly to neighboring Kansas, Panorama Point has very little noticeable.
These ones are stinky, man. It's not. It's just they're higher up in general, but they're not. They don't look it. I guess it's like a slow incline to these heights.
Prominence, and is found just over the border from Colorado and Wyoming, about a mile away from the tri-point of the three states. Virginia also has a high point that's not too far from a tri-point. Mount Rogers, at 5,729 feet, is evidence of former volcanic activity in the Appalachians hundreds of millions of years ago. It's in far South Virginia near the tri-point with Tennessee and North Carolina. New Hampshire brings us another famous high point, Mount Washington. Coming in at 6,288 feet, it's found in the northern half of the state and is well known for its extreme winds. The fastest wind speed ever recorded that wasn't found in a tornado or hurricane, 231 miles per hour, was measured at the summit. That's
Damn.
insane. There's also a cog railroad and a vehicle road that climbs to the top.
Does that crash?
Tennessee is home to
Looks like the train's crashed. Or is it just how it's built? I think it's just how it's built.
railroad and a vehicle road that climbs to the top.
I think it is.
Tennessee is home to Clingman's Dome, a mountain shared with North Carolina in the Great Smoky Mountains.
So yeah, basing it off this, I think they are a lot of the borders are based around the peaks and just mountains or high points in general, because they all seem, or 70% of them seem to be on the borders somewhat. I mean, it's not right on the border, but
Atop the 6,643-foot summit is an observation deck, and the entire area is accessible by car. Not far away at all, North Carolina's Mount Mitchell lays claim.
We've not even touched the west coast yet. God, it's just the west side even, really. That's obviously where it's going to get big, but it's not even been touched at all, has it?
To the highest point in the state at 6,684 feet. It's also the highest point found east of the Mississippi River, and is quite the popular destination as a result. From here on out, we'll be dealing with exclusively western states. Starting us off is South Dakota, with its 7,244-foot Black Elk Peak, found in the Black Hills, just a few miles away from Mount Rushmore. Texas makes its appearance with Guadalupe Peak, found in West Texas in the Guadalupe mountain range shared with New Mexico. At 8,751 feet, there's a hiking trail all the way to the top, with great views of the surrounding desert. Oregon's highest point is Mount Hood, a quite well-known peak towering nearby to Portland, and the first peak over 10,000 feet.
That is massive. See, that's when I think of a mountain, that's what I'm sort of thinking about. That's massive. I know like a lot of them are mountains, but like this view is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
On the list.
And it also jumped up loads from Texas, didn't it? Wait, we'll come back. God, it did. 800 whole meters.
49 feet. It's also part of the Cascade Volcanic Arc and is a potentially active volcano itself. Arizona has Humphreys Peak as its highest point, just north of Flagstaff in the San Francisco Peaks. It has an elevation of 12,633 feet and offers great views of the surrounding area. Idaho's highest point is Bora Peak, situated in the center of the state among the Lost River Range. Its elevation is 12,668 feet and features quite a strenuous hike to the summit. Up in neighboring Montana is Granite Peak, found 10 miles north of the border with Wyoming. At 12,807 feet, it's widely regarded as the second most difficult high point to ascend due to its weather conditions.
How's anyone getting to the top of this?
Tricky routing, and it usually takes at least 2 days to climb.
Oh my days.
Nevada's highest point is the 13,147 foot high Boundary Peak, aptly named as it lies just over the border with California. It's technically a sub-peak of California's taller Montgomery Peak. New Mexico's highest point is just barely taller at 13,167 feet. Found at the summit of Wheeler Peak, the area is very close to Taos, and skiing and hiking are popular activities. Over in Utah is Kings Peak at an elevation of 13,534 feet. It's found in the Uinta Mountains of northeastern Utah, not
Look at those, man. Flipping hell.
too far away from the Wyoming border. We're venturing away from the lower 48 for the first time with Hawaii's famous high point of Mauna Kea. At 13,803 feet above sea level, it's sometimes considered to be the tallest mountain in the world when measured from its true base at the seafloor.
Crazy.
It's home to many astronomical observatories, is held sacred by native Hawaiians, and is famous around the world. Starting out the top 5 of this list is Wyoming's Gannett Peak, at an elevation of 13,809 feet. It straddles the Continental Divide and is part of the Wind River Range. Next up is Washington's world-famous Mount Rainier, the 14,411-foot high active volcano looming in the distance near the Seattle region. It's considered to be one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world.
What? In Washington? I didn't even know that, to be honest. I didn't know that.
And is a decade volcano, one of 16 volcanoes designated as the most important to study. Third place goes to Colorado's Mount...
What about the Yellowstone volcano? Isn't that even more important to study or be worried about?
Elbert, which is featured in this video's thumbnail. It comes in at an elevation of 14,440 feet. It's the highest point of the entire Rocky Mountain range. Considering its high elevation, it's not a particularly difficult peak to ascend relatively, which earned it the nickname of the Gentle Giant. California and its Mount Whitney claim the second highest state high point with an elevation of 14,505 feet. It's also the tallest mountain of the entire lower 48 states, which leaves just one more state left to claim first place. Alaska and...
Oh, it's a lot bigger. It's a lot bigger. Oh my days. I did not know it was that much bigger in Alaska.
Alaska and its famous Denali take the spot of the highest high point of all 50 states, with an astounding elevation of 20,310 feet. It was known as Mount McKinley until 2015. It's the third most prominent mountain on Earth, and the tallest peak in North America. What an impressive place. And that concludes this...
God damn, I just want to see... Because I'm so fascinated by this. When I get into these reactions, it makes me want to look more into it. But mountain ranges in England. There's only one, and that's near, I think it's near Wales. I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, the north, it gets more and more mountainous. I guess these maps will show, right? I guess this. So, where I am is probably the flattest. I'm here. There's pretty much nothing at all. I mean, when you travel through here, you don't really notice any mountains or anything. So the fact that it's showing this is a little bit higher up, you wouldn't notice. And yeah, I guess the more north you go, this is the Lake District. This is like the place where it is very mountainous in the UK. Sorry, in England. But yeah, Scotland's a different level, to be fair. Scotland's just the Highlands, right? I've been here before, and yeah, the mountain. Where was it? Was I there? Around here, this area, and yeah, the mountains there are crazy. To be fair, but that's pretty much it. There's a little mountainous area near this part of England, but yeah, it's not the same. It actually looks a bit more mountainous than I thought it would have been, but yeah, that's that. And I mean, which one is it? This one. Is it said that Florida's highest point is Space Mountain? What the fuck? I bet there's people that probably try and climb all of the highest points in each state. There probably is people that do that and document it. That would be fascinating to know. But if you're someone who explores the US and you do that kind of stuff, let me know if you've been up any of these mountains. And then if you've been up many of them, let me know how many and which ones you've been up, because that would be fascinating to know about. But yeah, the highest point in each state of the US. Florida being that low, I wouldn't have guessed, but the more you know. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction, and until next time, peace.